Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over, as you can guess, poison. So this is another topic video, but it's also going to be a video that pertains to the current meta and the meta after the patch. So the two big changes that I think are really worth noting, actually the three, are the addition of another skeleton to the Dutes, to the 1 elixir skeletons, a fourth that is, that increases the damage output by like 33% or whatever, or 33% more skeletons or whatever. So it's another distraction, it takes another hit to kill. This helps really well against troops like Mega Minion, Knight, Mini P.E.K.K.A that are slow and swing, or not necessarily slow for Knight, but that are melee or even air in Mega Minion's case at distracting. So, and it helps against Graveyard as well. And then the second would be Executioner. He's obviously a lot less viable, so certain decks will come back. Because of poison now totally destroying skeleton army, I think that card will be phased out, so that's the thing that I kind of mentioned. So Spellbait's not as good as you would think after Executioner. The thing that benefited the most from this patch is actually probably Lava Hound coming back, Lava Loon in particular. And so finally, I want to talk about poison and what it's good with, and why it's important to note that this poison isn't the same as the poison that used to be good. So a while back, obviously the things that people thought poison was so good with was Goizen, Giant or Golem, mainly Giant though, Giant Poison, and then Minor Poison. And the reason why I don't think, while these decks are viable, I don't think they're as good as people think they are with the poison buff. So the big difference between this new poison that is very good, I'll say it's going to have a place in the meta, it's going to be better than Fireball. Most people aren't going to run Fireball. Oh, another thing is Three Musketeers will become better because poison isn't a hard counter to Three Musketeers. So the thing that I think is really important to note is the old poison, what it used to do is it slowed attack speed and movement speed. So the reason this was really good with Minor, and the reason this was good for Giant is because for Giant it slowed Infernos, it slowed everything in this radius around the thing that would kill the Giant. It's the same is true for the Minor. So a big thing that used to be used back then was Mini P.E.K.K.A and Guards to counter Minor because they're good Minor counters. So what you would see people do is they would move around their Minor placements, and if they guess wrong and the corner's wrong, that movement slow and that attack speed slow both on the tower and on the troops would get the Minor like 3 more hits in, and it would also kill the things that are trying to kill the Minor. So that's why it was really good. And the difference now is you're doing relatively the same damage, but you're not, especially for Minor, you're not going to slow the attack speed of the tower, you're not going to slow the attack speed of the Guards or the Mini P.E.K.K.A. So this Minor isn't going to get those extra 3 hits or whatever, it's going to do probably the same amount of damage to the cards within the radius. Like, so Guards will still die. But and especially if it blocks, the Minor will get no damage whatsoever, even with Guards, if it's blocked. So that's a difference with this poison and the old poison. It's not as good against Inferno Tower, it's not as good against the tower, and it doesn't keep a lot. It doesn't keep Giant, and so it doesn't have like a protect. So in a way, the old poison had a protective aspect to it, to where it protected your units within the circle by lowering the DPS of the enemy's units and towers. So what does this poison do better? It doesn't last as long, but it does more damage more quickly. And what likes quick damage that quickly gets rid of troops, and also is a circle radius that can cover a big area of the enemy's territory? The answer is Graveyard. This poison is going to be really good with Graveyard, and it already is good with Graveyard, as I practiced with my tournament with my teammates and found out. So, and unlike initially thought, despite killing skeletons in one hit, poison isn't a Graveyard counter. And typically when you take poison, you don't want to use it on defense, you want it on offense, you need it on offense. Otherwise it's wasting a slot. And so say an Ice Golem and then a Graveyard, and you try to defensive poison, those Graveyards are still going to get a bunch of swings in, and it ends up being not worth it to defend, especially when poison is 4 elixir and you're using it on defense and not getting any tower damage. So the reason it's good with Graveyard is because it kills every graveyard counter. Every good graveyard counter dies to poison. And now that poison kills them faster, things like skeleton armies are actually countered by poison, and you don't actually have to take zap as a graveyard player because poison does what zap does in just like half a second slower. And then it persists for the entire duration of the graveyard, preventing them from playing more than one card and even damaging heavy units such as Bowler and Executioner. So currently, like, if you play an Ice Golem, Graveyard, Poison, and an Executioner is played in defense, the Executioner will actually die to the skeletons and the poison. And so this is really good. So you kill off their counters, and it kills every good counter in the game, making the Graveyard get more damage. So, and that's why the poison actually works better with Graveyard, ironically, than it does without Graveyard. And so let's get in. I'll show a couple of replays from RPL today, from the matches I played. So let's jump into this. I mostly just want to show the poison and how it's effective. Not so much the match. I won this match, but... So, defend graveyard. Oh, and I actually didn't even have log. I took a bunch of damage there. I didn't even have log versus spellbait, and I was able to pull out this win. And this is probably the deck I'll do a guide on. So, oh, and in the first case, I ended up using poison afterward to kill his counters. I didn't have it. I didn't have enough elixir to play right away. And I misclicked that Mega Minion well. So I made some mistakes to start the match out, but that's not important. So here it is. I accidentally sped through that. But what you see is the Skeleton Army dies rather quickly, and with just a tank and graveyard, even though he had both Dark Goblin and Skarmy, I was able to poison them both and take them both down. And that's the power of like graveyard, and it's the power of poison with graveyard. So once again, you see poison quickly take out the counters. And then you see the poison plus the Mega Minion take out the knight, along with the skeletons, of course. So you pretty much use it like Fireball. People are like, oh, so you just graveyard and then poison instantly. No, you wait for their counters first and then you poison. It's the same way you use Fireball. And due to the fact that poison doesn't have a travel time, poison kills things relatively just as fast as... So I put it down preemptively to ward off the Skarmy. Even though I didn't have a tank there, I was just trying to get tower damage in. And I ended up killing the Dark Goblin and still getting like 500 damage in. So that's kind of my point. So like, even though poison you would think is slower, now that they buffed it and it kills things quicker in a short amount of time as well, it's really, really good with Graveyard. And there's going to be some other decks it's good with. And I'm not saying it's bad with Miner. It's still okay, and it's still okay with Giant. But it's better with Graveyard because of how it functions now. And that's not how it used to function within the meta. Like, this is a different poison, and it should be treated as such. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion of poison and how I think it'll affect the meta and how it functions currently as opposed to how it used to function when it was really good and in the meta as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll catch you next time. I'm probably going to do a deck guide on Graveyard Poison. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.